clouds, all the way from London, two amazing, very funny gentlemen, Paul Gannon and Richard Sandling, that are presenting for you Geeks Night Out and Perfect Movie Mashup. Let's give it up for Richard and Paul.
Sandling. Hello. And welcome to the Geek Night Out versus Perfect Movie Mashup. Don't do the dance. Basically, yes, we're here to entertain you, Richard.
Yes, basically in London, myself and Paul Gannon, we do different shows. I do a thing about films and things about geekdom. I decided to combine our non-considerable talents for one show tonight to celebrate our arrival at Geek Week Boston.
The British are coming in your faces right now! Yes, you
know the refunds!
Well, maybe. Anyway, so basically you may ask yourself, what is a geek? Well, I have a theory that the word geek just means you have a passion for something. For instance, with me, it is Ghostbusters. I'm a bit of a Ghostbusters geek. Don't applaud, I'm fucking single. But I'm a Ghostbusters geek, but for instance, as I say, it means you have a passion. So let's just say, sir, right, you, like your football team, you follow that team up and down, you know, all the league games, all the players, guess what, you are a football geek, okay? Let's just say the lady there, imagine you like your soap operas, right? And you know all the characters and all the storylines, you are a soap opera geek, okay? You could even be like a 50-year-old man who has every single Disney film, and guess what? You are a sex offender. But it is important to draw the line between geek and paedophile at a very early stage. So, yes, that's what we're doing. We are gushing with love tonight about the things we are passionate about. We have so much coming up. Richard, maybe
well, yeah, so basically we're going to split the time. We're like a tag team of awesomeness.
Yes.
Like, I'm going to come on, he's going to come on.
Yeah. The thing about geeky things is that, for instance, I'm a big fan of zombie films. That's one of my passions, right? And back in the day, back in the 80s and early 90s in the UK, it was really hard to get hold of really, really good zombie films. They were all the ones stashed under the counter at the video store, you know? Like, you couldn't get Zombie Holocaust, you couldn't get Zombie, the Fulci kind of zombies. But now, as you may be aware, everything's got zombies in it these days, right? I mean, like, you look at video games, zombies, you look at movies, zombies, books, zombies, comics, zombies, the cast of Jersey Shore, all zombies! And it kind of got to that point now where there's a book that was released, and I don't know if anyone's read it, it's called Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. Now, I use the word book wrongly, but that's what it is. If you don't know what it is, basically it's a book that marries the world of Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice with the world of George A. Romero's zombie horror films, right? So basically, to give you an idea of what that book's like, if you don't know, it's like Chapter 3. Darcy walks out to the lake, sexy wet shirts on, sees a zombie, pulls out a shotgun, bang! Chapter 4. Right? That's it in a nutshell. But they're making a fucking movie out of this now. You know, a big budget Hollywood movie. Big books. And I was thinking, okay, I need to get in on this. I need to kind of somehow get into this. Something that can marry classic literature with classic horror. So, with your patience, I'm going to run a few titles of books past you, and based on your reaction, I'll see which one I'm going to go with. So the first one I thought of was Bleak House on Haunted Hill. That surprisingly went much better than it usually does. Well done. What else? Oh, I like, what was this one? Seance and Seance Ability. was told not to do Schindler's List, so we're going straight on from that one. But also, the one I am going to go for, the one that has the most positive feedback, is simply called The Diary of Anne Frankenstein. And the great thing about that is when the Nazis catch her and they kill her, she can come back for a sequel. So,
I lost my voice. Era. Lovely to be here, doing comedy in Boston. But when comedians come on stage, they say it's lovely to be here. That's like a sort of stock phrase that comedians use. It's like just a sort of general admin. But it is lovely to be here because I have a bit of a reputation on the British circuit for being a bit of an alternative comedian, which, to be honest, doesn't mean anything because it's not 1983. What it basically means is I get asked to do loads and loads and loads of gigs that normal comedians never get asked to do, and I accept them. Usually gladly. A couple of months ago, I did a gig at a science fiction convention. Right? And I'll be honest with you, I thought that was going to be the easiest gig of my life. I just thought, my people, I am home. How could this possibly go bad? Well, the thing I forgot to appreciate about science fiction fans, particularly British science fiction fans, is that people who like science fiction enough to actually go to a science fiction convention have no sense of humour about the thing they're desperately passionate about. They don't enjoy some sarcastic man from Essex picking out plot holes, pointing at incongruities. They don't enjoy that at all. They have a sense of zeal that conquistadors would find excessive. They're basically soccer hooligans. And to them, the casting of Keanu Reid as John Constantine is worse than England losing to Germany on penalties. This was obviously, it was a terrible gig. It was on at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which is never a good time for comedy. It's bright, everyone's sober, and also, like, all stereotypes of sci-fi fans aside, they were very socially awkward and had never been to a stand-up comedy gig before. So it was like 400 weirdly dressed people going to church for the first time. And no one was to stand up, sit down, join in, applaud, be quiet, like nothing. And the compere had done nothing to get the crowd going as well. It wasn't even a compere, just someone who knew someone who works in a comic shop, and he really wanted to be the actor David Collins. Now I'm not sure if you're familiar with the actor David Collins, but he was Silver in Sapphire and Steel. He's in the last ever episode of Blake 7. He's in 3 classic Doctor Who adventures, and he's the voice of Monkey. Fair enough, well worth an autograph. But I basically come on to nothing, so I'm trying to get the crowd going, hey, where are you from, what's your name, hey, where are you from, what's your name? There's a woman in the front row, always talk to women at science fiction conventions. Because if they already like science fiction, it's half the battle already won. I'm not suggesting they're all but mounted. It is the main stumbling block I have to overcome in my day-to-day life. So I said to her, I said, what's your favourite show? She said, I really like Star Trek. Now, my mind's racing, I'm trying to keep the energy up, I'm not really thinking straight. I said, oh, so you're a Trekkie? Whole room went cold. She said, no, I'm a Trekker. Now, I had never heard that word before. And I'm aware that being live on stage at a science fiction convention is not the time to realise you have a fundamental gap in your basic knowledge of the subject. So I'm trying to think, what can the difference? What can this be? Trekkie must be fans of Kirk. Trekkie must be fans of Picard, the other less important ones. Well, I can't think, I have to ask. So I said, what's the difference? What's the difference? And she said, Trekker is what people who like Star Trek call themselves. Trekkie is a derogatory term used to cause offence, like Jew. Now, I'm trying to keep the mood light. And I'm wondering if I should point out that putting on pointy ears and hanging around in a motel in Hertfordshire for a weekend, and people think that's a bit silly, is not the same thing as the Holocaust. So, believe me when I say it is nice to be here.
I have with people when they use the word geek, because people use the word geek quite badly. You know, people think of geek and they think of a guy at home doing Warcraft and masturbating to online porn at the same time. And that's true, but it's not the whole thing, right? Yeah. And again, when people say, oh, you must love your technology, you must love iTunes or iPads and iPhones, and I'm like, no, not really, because I'm reasonably sure that my iTunes is out to fuck up my sex life, right? But then this is mostly my fault, okay? Because for every like Beatles album or Oasis or like Kings of Leon, I also have things like British sitcom classics album, or I have the themes from kids' TV shows of the 70s, all stashed away, right, on my iTunes player. So I forget about this because it's my personal dirty secret. And there was one night after a gig, I managed to persuade this woman to come back to my flat. And everything was going really well, right? So we're making small talk, we're having a chit chat. I think, okay, mood music is probably quite important right now. So I turn my laptop on, I put the iTunes on, I press shuffle, I press play, and the first track that came on was Marvin Gaye, Let's Get It On, right? Perfect. So now we're making, small talk. We're stroking, we're touching, we're being suggestive, okay? We're undoing clothing ever so slightly, it's going well. And then eventually that song fades out. And the next track came on. But the next track was a track from Lord of the Rings. But in itself, that's not too bad, because it's quite a romantic piece of, you can hear it, it's quite a romantic piece of music. It's all sweeping orchestral scores and harmonising voices and cellos and cymbals and an orchestra working together to make a passionate, evocative piece of music. So now, I'm undressing her, we're naked, she's hot and excited, I'm hard and excited, she's wet, right? I'm about to put my angry inch inside of her, right? And then that's when my iTunes player goes, surprise motherfucker, here's the theme from kids' TV show Rhubarb and Custard. Fucking to this. I panic, so I lean over the best I can, I go bang, next track, and the next track was a kids' TV show called Grange Hill. So now I'm like this. Which, to be fair, helps keep pace perfectly, and I highly recommend this track. So, if any man needs to get his rhythm section sorted out when it comes to bedroom antics, get a track of Grange Hill.
Do you like going to the cinema? I used to hate going to the cinema because it was awful, it was full of people. But then I had this brilliant experience. Well, it was a weird experience. I get to go during the day because I do comedy, like, it's my job. Imagine. And basically I'm self-unemployed, it's really what it was. Right, I get to go to cinema. I made this weird experience. I went to see Predators, so I brought it on myself. But I went to see, have you seen Predators? It's like the remake, there's a reboot, there's also the third one. It's very confusing. It's like watching a tribute act do Predator. You spend the whole time going, it's definitely Predator. It's not Predator. Very weird. And it was like a 400-seater cinema, and there was about 25 people in there. And I got in the middle of the back row. Middle of the back row is actually your prerogative. You get there first, you sit there. Brilliant. Film's about to start. This bloke comes in, sits right next to me. Right? Not in a weird, creepy hand on the knee way, but just kind of like, I want to sit the best seat too. Ordinarily I'd be too English and awkward and very foppish and 18th century about it all, not know what to do. And I spend the whole time furious and angry and then go home and block the shit out of it. But I tried this. And I really recommend you try this if that ever happens to you. Turn to the person sitting next to you, turn to them and say, are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Fuck off! They always move. Always.
In that case, no further ado. Again, every time I do my show in London, I like to act along to come and do their favourite thing. A few years ago, this guy came up to London, did an amazing set. I'd like him to do it for you now, so please give the most amazing round of applause for the fantastic Ken Reid.
I want to tell the story that Paul and Rick told in a minute, but we performed at the Boston Comic Con on Saturday, and I also inadvertently offended the crowd because there was supposed to be a show that was like a Magic the Gathering show, and then they didn't show up. But there was like 100 people in line to watch this Magic the Gathering show, and I had to go up and say, the Magic the Gathering people stood us up. And then I said, which is something no one's ever said. But it's factually accurate, and I strive for accuracy rather. I go to these conventions, and sort of the dirty little secret of a lot of these conventions is that, aside from just comic book stuff, a lot of them have washed-up actors that go, and they get paid. People pay them to sign autographs. It's it's a bit like a museum, more like a zoo for washed-up actors. Like you kind of go around and you're like, oh, there's Zach Galligan from Gremlins. Don't feed him, and it's kind of like, or like, oh, that Corey Haim looks sick. You know, like I think they just stick him there and then roll him back in his cage. Like, I met him when he died. Not immediately, but he was in bad shape. I had him sign my License to Drive soundtrack LP, which is a movie he's in, but he looks at it and he goes, what is this? And I'm like, the movie or the actual thing? And he goes, the whole thing. And I was like, that's a movie you're in and that's the soundtrack LP. And he was like, can I look at it? And I was like, that's what you've been doing, man. And then he took the LP out of the sleeve and then couldn't get it back in the sleeve. And I was like, do you want help? And he's like, no, I can do it. And I had to watch Corey Haim, who had no shirt on, by the way, and a shaved chest and stubble. Just a flavor. Do this with an LP for 3 minutes, which I timed. Yes. And then his mother was like, I'll do it. And he was like, no! And then he died. So, it's lost. Yes.
So this one thing, I got involved with this group, and then I got involved with a thing called Psychic and Science, which is a live version of Ghost Hunters. We go around the country, do these big theatres, 500-600 people, and we do all these kind of things that you see on TV, like a table tipping, or a seance, or a lock-up. Later on in that show, we had a priest come into the show and start praying at the stage. And it's the only time in my life I've ever had to exorcise a vicar from a theatre, right? So it was a weird fucking show. Case in point, I was told during the exact same show there were protesters outside saying ban this show. I went outside to see them. And I thought there was going to be this rally of aggressive Christians holding Bibles and going, "Arr!" No, it was 7 old ladies, right, marching around the theatre flicking holy water. And I went up to them and said, listen, you might not agree with what we're doing, but it's harmless, and it's a discussion. We debunk a lot of stuff. We don't talk about ghosts as if they're real. We let the discussion happen. And they went, you disgust me. And one old lady with a Bible in her hand spat in my face. And my reaction was to go, it burns! We always like that show to be like a Coen Brothers film. It starts off really well, you're excited, it's good to see him back on form. And then it kind of goes on a bit. It's nice bits, but it's mostly just talking. And it goes on and on and on, a bit too long. And then it just sort of ends. And you leave disappointed, but not sure reason your fault you didn't enjoy as much as you should have. I think we've achieved that this evening. We really have, I think we've nailed that one. So, thank you very much for having us in the fantastic world of Boston. The Americans have been very kind to us. I mean, they say bring us your poor, you're tired, and you're hungry. And we're all 3. So you